Most men are not running out of time. They're running out of chances to use it right. You wake up tired, not because you worked hard, but because your attention was at war all day. A scroll here, a distraction there, and another piece of your life slips through your hands unconsciously. Welcome to Darkwood Audiobooks. No hype, no fluff, just the truth, sharpened in silence.
Chapter 1.
Further ado,
The lie
let's
of more
begin.
time.
Time isn't your enemy. Distraction is. You keep telling yourself the same thing. I just need more time. But more time isn't what you need. You need less waste, less noise, less escape. The truth is, you have time. You have the same 24 hours as every man who ever built something worth building. It's not the hours that are missing. It's the hours that are leaking. You wake up, and before your feet touch the floor, you've already given a piece of yourself away. A scroll here, a notification there, a thought about someone else's life. Your attention fractures before the day begins, and fractured attention can't build a focused life. You don't need more time. You need your time back. You need ownership. Most men never take it. They rent their time out for cheap. They trade their best hours for convenience, distraction, validation, and then wonder why nothing real ever gets built. Most men walk through their lives like they're killing time, not realizing time is what's killing them. We put dreams on layaway. We say, one day. We say, soon. We say, after this settles down. But time doesn't care about your plans. It doesn't wait for motivation. It doesn't pause for your self-doubt. It doesn't stop while you scroll your life away. It just keeps moving, and it takes you with it. The clock doesn't slow down when you feel overwhelmed. It doesn't show mercy when you're tired. It just keeps ticking. And one day, you'll wish you had fought harder for the minutes you wasted. Let me tell you something a man once told me, sitting across from a fire we built in silence. You don't run out of time. You run out of chances to use it right. That hit me like a cold wind, because I had spent years asking for more time, not realizing I was drowning in the time I already had. I didn't need more time. I needed to cut the distractions that kept stealing it. I didn't need another planner. I needed fewer temptations. I didn't need to be more productive. I needed to stop bleeding hours on things that didn't matter. Distraction doesn't just steal time. It steals purpose. It steals momentum. It steals identity. Every time you numb out, scroll endlessly, click without thought, you don't just lose minutes. You lose the man you were trying to become. You trade him for comfort. You trade him for a dopamine hit. You trade him for silence, thinking it's rest. But it's not rest. It's retreat. And he dies a little more each time you do it. Not all at once, but quietly, like a slow leak in a ship you never patch. We live in an age where everyone is busy. Busy doing what? Consuming, reacting, escaping. Everyone looks like they're moving. But no one's arriving anywhere. You don't rise by reacting. You rise by deciding, by choosing what gets your attention, by saying, not, this matters, that doesn't. That's the most valuable currency you have. Not your money, not your talent, your attention. Where it goes, your life goes. Where it leaks, your life weakens. And most of us are bleeding out by the hour. So take inventory. Where does your time go? Where do your eyes go? Where does your mind run when it's tired, bored, or afraid? That's the map of your future. That's the architecture of your life. And if it's filled with dead-ends and shortcuts, don't be surprised when you wake up years from now, wondering why you're still stuck in the same place. You are always building something. The only question is, are you building by design or by default? There is no perfect time, there is only now. If you're waiting for the right mood, the perfect energy, the clean break, the fresh start, You're not waiting for the right time. You're you're stuck. You're avoiding the hard truth. You're stalling. You lack discipline, not time. You lack clarity, not opportunity. You've got the ingredients. You just keep leaving the kitchen. And here's the truth most won't tell you. Time management isn't about calendars. It's about character. It's about what you say no to, what you walk away from, what you shut off so you can stay sharp. It's about building gates around your focus, about choosing solitude when the crowd wants your attention. You think the disciplined man has more time than you? He doesn't. He just bleeds less of it. He guards it like a wolf guards its den. If your life feels chaotic, it's not because of the world. It's because you've let the world inside your gates. You haven't drawn the line. You haven't girded your mornings. You haven't fought for your focus. You let distraction sit at your table. You let noise take the seat of purpose. But you can take it back, starting now. Cut the noise, cut the weakness, cut the delay. Not tomorrow, not next week, now. Imagine your time as a battlefield. You are either defending it or abandoning it. Every minute you give away to distraction is a minute you abandon your post. Every just 5 minutes becomes a half hour you'll never see again, and no one is coming to relieve you. Coming to the forest. No one is coming to guard your life for you. This post is yours. This gate is yours. This time is yours. Stand the post. Defend the gate. You keep thinking you need more hours in the day, but what you need is fewer moments of surrender. Fewer excuses disguised as rest. Fewer bargains with the weaker parts of yourself. You need 1 hour of deep work, not 8 hours of half focus. You need 1 morning of commitment, not 30 days of excuses. You need 1 decision made fully, without compromise. That's how momentum starts. That's how a man changes, not all at once, but moment by moment, choice by choice, hour by hour. Look around your life right now. How much of it was built by accident, by reaction, by distraction, and how much of it was built on purpose, with your hands, with your heart, with your full attention? That's the difference between a man who moves forward and a man who spins in place. You're not stuck because of time. You're stuck because of distraction. And distraction is always a choice. You don't need more time. You need fewer leaks, fewer distractions, fewer wasted mornings and lost evenings. You need clarity. You need solitude. You need silence. So you can finally hear what the next step is. So you can finally move like a man on a mission. Not rushing, not flailing. Just steady, sharp, clear. A man with a mind like a blade. A man who shows up again and again. No matter how small the step, no matter how silent the progress. Reflection. Ask yourself, what are the top 3 distractions draining your time right now? Who or what have you allowed to fracture your attention? If you only had 6 months left, what would you stop doing today? You don't need to change everything. You just need to cut 1 leak, then another, then another. Cut the noise, cut the weakness, cut the delay, and watch what happens when you finally stop waiting for time and start owning it. Chapter 2. The Quiet Thief. It doesn't break in. It waits for you to open the door. Distraction doesn't knock. It doesn't shout. It doesn't show up with a weapon or a warning. It waits, silent, smiling. It waits for your weakness, for your boredom, for your loneliness, for that gap between discomfort and decision. And then it moves in, without a sound, without resistance, because you let it. Distraction is a thief with soft hands. It steals from you without making a sound, without violence, without force. You don't notice the first few minutes. You barely feel the shift. But minute by minute, hour by hour, piece by piece, it pulls you away from yourself, from your focus, from your purpose, from your discipline. It doesn't need to conquer you. It just needs to seduce you. And the seduction is everywhere. It's baked into your morning. It's waiting beside your coffee. It follows you into work. It lies beside you at night. It wears the face of entertainment. Endless videos. The infinite scroll. The next thing. And the next. And the next. You sit down for 5 minutes of rest, and suddenly it's 2 hours later, and nothing in your life is better. You're just further behind, further drained, more ashamed. You don't even know why. You tell yourself it was harmless, but it wasn't. Because now you're behind, and you know it, and that guilt becomes the next distraction. A cycle. One you fed, one you built. It wears the mask of urgency. The ping of a message, the buzz of a notification, the lie that everything needs your attention right now. But urgency isn't the same as importance, and most of what demands your focus.
One, the this is should add is the all versions of M, the dances. But you were doing fine until you saw someone else doing better. Now your progress feels like failure. Now your peace feels like weakness. You handed your self-worth to a stranger because distraction disguised itself as community. And you paid the price. Distraction doesn't scream, it whispers. It tells you,
Just one more. You deserve it. This will only take a second. But it never stops at a second. And it always takes more than it gives. It eats your attention. It drains your energy. It hijacks your emotions. It rewires your brain to chase novelty instead of purpose. And it leaves you wondering why you never feel focused, why you never feel sharp, why you never feel like you're moving forward. Because you're not. You're distracted. You're running on a treadmill of stimulation, moving fast, going nowhere. You're burning out from activity that has no weight, no resistance, no edge. You think you're busy, but busy is not the same as building. Busy is not the same as becoming. Busy is often just distracted, a disguise, a performance. It's noise with a calendar and no destination. You think the danger is loud. It's not. The danger is subtle. It's the 1,000 quiet choices that pull you 1 degree off course until you're miles from where you meant to be. A 5-minute distraction every hour. A dozen mindless checks a day. A few hours lost each night. It adds up. It compounds. And one day you look around, and the man you thought you'd be is nowhere to be found. Because you never built him. You entertained your way out of him. And the hardest part, you won't notice it happening. Not until it's deep. Not until the noise becomes normal. And by then, your attention span is gone. Your drive is gold. Your mission feels foggy. You can't remember the last time you sat in stillness or followed through on something without interruption. And you think it's just the world. But it's not. It's you, leaving the door open, again and again, letting distractions set up camp in your mind. So close the door. Cut the open tabs. Delete what doesn't serve you. Put your phone in another room. Turn off the noise that doesn't feed your fire. Silence the unnecessary. Starve the algorithm. Because every time you leave the door cracked, distraction finds a way back in. You can't out-discipline a leaky life. You have to seal the cracks. You have to take inventory, like a man protecting a kingdom. Because you are. Guard your time, like territory. Guard your focus, like treasure. Guard your peace, like it's your future, because it is. Your future isn't found in endless noise. It's found in attention, in effort, in direction. And all three require silence, space, discipline, a kind of holy aggression. You don't wait for distraction to fade. You hunt it. You root it out. You face it with fire. Ask yourself, where does distraction creep in? What moments do you leave unguarded? What habits are opening the gate? Is it in the dead hours before sleep? Is it in the first 10 minutes of your morning? Is it in the fake urgency of someone else's crisis? And what would your life look like if you defended those moments? How far could you go if you shut the door for good? If your time was yours again? If your mind was quiet? If your mission wasn't competing with a million voices? Reflection. Identify the top 3 distractions in your day. What harmless habit is silently draining your energy? When does distraction strike hardest? And why? What boundary do you need to draw this week? What would change if you gave your full attention to one thing every day for the next 30 days? Make it visual. Write it down. Track it. Kill it. Because the quiet thief doesn't stop on its own. It stops when you stop opening the door. Cut the noise. Cut the softness. Cut the drift. Cut the passive consumption. Guard your fire, or it will burn out. And when it does, you'll wish you'd taken your silence more seriously. Chapter 3. Cut the noise. You can't build a future when you're drowning in static. The world is louder than it's ever been. Every hour, someone wants your attention. Every screen, every post, every ad, every message, all clawing for a piece of your mind. And if you don't fight back, they'll take it. Every last bit. Until there's nothing left for you. Not your focus, not your peace, not your purpose. You'll be full of input, but empty of intention. Noise isn't just sound, it's clutter. Mental clutter, emotional clutter, digital clutter, spiritual clutter. It's 100 open tabs in your brain, half-finished thoughts, unprocessed guilt, lingering conversations, decisions you've delayed, battles you've avoided. You can't think clearly when the signal is buried beneath the static. You can't move forward when your mind is tangled in everything at once. Static is scrolling before sunrise. Static is watching people you'll never meet do things you'll never need. Static is absorbing opinions before you've even formed your own. So, static is saying yes to everything, except yourself. Noise makes you reactive. It puts you on edge. It makes you forget what you were doing or why it mattered. It speeds you up while secretly pulling you off course. It gives you the illusion of motion without direction. And slowly, it steals your clarity. It clouds your path. It blurs the target until you forget you ever had one. You stop aiming. You start drifting. You call air. You call it productivity. But deep down, you know better. There is no strength without silence. There is no clarity without distance from chaos. You want to lead yourself. You want to build. You want to rise. Then you have to cut the noise, ruthlessly, repeatedly. Start with your environment. Your phone isn't neutral. Your feed isn't harmless. Your playlist isn't always helping you. Your habits aren't always honest. Every sound, every notification, every alert, it all adds weight. You think it's just a background hum, but that hum becomes the soundtrack of your downfall. Because that noise is constant, and it becomes normal. But normal isn't the goal. Sharp is the goal. Clear is the goal. Because you can't build in chaos, you can only consume. And men who only consume never create anything worth remembering. Silence is a weapon, but it's not passive. It's intentional. It's forged in resistance. You have to make space for it. You have to fight for it. You have to protect it like your future depends on it. Because it does. Carve it out of your day. Guard it like something sacred. Because it is. Some of your best thoughts, some of your sharpest ideas, some of your most honest questions, they're waiting in the quiet. But you'll never hear them if you keep filling every gap with noise. Let the quiet in. Let the stillness speak. Let the questions surface that you've been avoiding. Am I still on the path? Is this still the man I want to be? What am I really building? You can't answer those in chaos. You need space to hear them. Sit in silence. No phone, no music, no screens, just you. The breath, the stillness. Let your thoughts rise to the surface. Let them sting if they have to. Let them show you what you've been avoiding. Because noise is often just a shield, a way to avoid truth, a way to drown out your own voice. But the man you're trying to become, he's not found in noise. He's found in silence. He's found in space. He's found when the world can't reach you. Practice it, train in it, build your life around it. 10 minutes, then 20, then 60. Not as a trend, not as a break, but as a discipline. Because when you can sit alone, without entertainment, without distraction, without stimulation, you're not just quiet, you're dangerous. Because now you see clearly. Now you move with purpose. Now you remember who you are. And most men have forgotten. Because most men have forgotten. Because most men have forgotten. There is a clarity that only comes after silence. A power that only rises after the noise dies down. And when you finally find it, you stop reacting. You stop rushing. You stop proving. You start building. Slowly, sharply, strongly. You start moving like a man with nothing to prove, but everything to protect. Reflection. Where is the noise in your life coming from? What apps, people, or habits are pouring chaos into your head? What can you remove for the next 7 days? When was the last time you sat in full silence? No phone, no music, no input. What have you been afraid to hear in the quiet? Try it. 10 minutes. Then do it again tomorrow. Then again the next day. Because clarity doesn't come from consuming more. It comes from cutting what doesn't serve you. Cut the noise. Find your edge. Sharpen it in silence. Then build from there. Alone, focused, unshakable. Chapter 4. The Death of Later. You're not buying time. You're selling your future. Later. It's a word spoken in passing, but it carries the weight of a grave. Later becomes never. Later becomes regret. Later becomes the life you never lived. And the worst part? You believed it was harmless. Later is the most dangerous drug. It's quiet, polite, convincing. We inject it into our plans, our dreams, our discipline. We tell ourselves it's wisdom. We tell ourselves we're being patient. But most of the time, later is fear in disguise. Fear of discomfort. Fear of change. Fear of failure. So we push it forward. 1 day, 1 week, 1 year, until there's no time left. Look around. How many things in your life are waiting? That book you are going to write. That body you are going to build. That habit you are going to start. That person you are going to become. You've left them all sitting in the fog of later. But fog never clears on its own. You have to walk through it. You have to act through it. Otherwise, you'll die with plans, not progress. We're taught to wait, to be polite, to be cautious, to take our time. But there's a difference between preparation and procrastination. Preparation builds. Procrastination delays. Preparation is rooted in clarity. Procrastination is rooted in fear. And if you're honest with yourself, how many times have you delayed something, not because you weren't ready, but because you were afraid? Later is a liar. It promises ease. It promises energy. It promises a better time. But that time never comes. Because your future is made of your present. And if you waste now, you ruin next. Every day you delay, you make the habit of delay stronger. Every time you say, not today, you make it easier to say it again tomorrow. That's how years slip through your fingers. That's how men wake up in their 40s, wondering where their fire went. You don't need more inspiration. You need confrontation. You need to look at your life and say, what have I been putting off? Not because it's impossible, but because it's uncomfortable. That question cuts deep. It should. Because it's the truth. Every time you choose later, you vote against your own potential. You tell the world you're okay with average. You tell your future self, you figure it out. But he can't, because you never gave him the tools. The path you walk tomorrow is built with what you do today, and if you leave today empty, tomorrow arrives broken. Men don't change when it's easy, they change when it's urgent. And if you don't make it urgent, life will. That illness, that betrayal, that missed chance, all of it comes for the man who waits. All of it hunts the man who says someday. So kill later. Bury it, burn it, be done with it. Because it's not a plan, it's a trap. And you've been caught in it long enough. Reflection. What have you been putting off? What decision are you avoiding? What project, promise, or practice have you let sit in the fog of later? What would change if you started it today, without ceremony, without perfection? Don't wait for more clarity. Clarity comes from motion, from trying, from failing, from repetition. Start now, not later, because later doesn't come. And even if it does, you might not be the same man when it arrives. Chapter 5. Rebuild without applause. You don't get claps in the dark. That's where real "if I see something med screws" will rise up the dust. Rebuilding is not glamorous. It's not a highlight reel. It's not a motivational anthem playing over a perfectly edited montage. It's quiet. It's repetitive. It's dark. And no one's watching. No one's clapping. No one's checking in to say, "Hey, proud of you for doing the hard thing." Good. That's how it should be. The world worships visibility. It measures progress in likes, follows, applause. It rewards noise. It rewards speed. But growth doesn't happen under lights. Growth happens in the shadows. In the early mornings when it's cold and you'd rather sleep. In the evenings when your body is tired but your soul won't let you rest. Growth happens when no one sees it. When it's just you, the weight you carry, and the decision to show up anyway. No validation, no feedback loop, no one handing you a trophy. Just silence, just sweat, just steps. The best work you'll ever do will be invisible to everyone but you, because before the world sees the change, you have to become the kind of man who doesn't need to be seen. That takes time. That takes solitude. That takes relentless repetition. You show up, you do the work, you finish. And you don't broadcast it, not because you're hiding, but because it's sacred. There is no crowd in the beginning. No cheerleaders for day one. No one posting your effort. No one waiting to celebrate you for simply doing what you said you would do. There is just discipline. There is just decision. There is just the man in the mirror saying, "Let's go again." And. You don't need applause. You need accountability. You don't need an audience. You need integrity. You don't need to be seen. You need to be solid when no one's looking. The man you respect, the man you're trying to become, he's not built by praise. He's built by fire. Rebuilding means you're starting where it hurts, where you're weak, where you failed before, where you once walked away. It means returning to the mess, to the dust, to the broken frame of a life that needs restructured from the foundation up. It means standing up in the wreckage, not for show, but because you're not done. Because something in you refuses to stay down. Something in you still remembers who you were supposed to be. That's power. That's masculinity. That's transformation. There will be days you question the process. Nights you wonder if any of it matters. Mornings where the silence feels suffocating. You'll look around and see no progress. You'll scroll past the lives of others and think, what's the point? But keep going, because the man you're becoming is forged in that silence. Is built in the moments where no one's watching, where no one cares, where no one pray. Rebuilding isn't sexy. It's slow. It's brutal. It's uncelebrated. But that's what makes it real. Because when you rebuild without applause, you strip away the need for praise. You stop performing. You start becoming. No more pretending. No more waiting. Just honest work. No one needs to understand. No one needs to approve. No one needs to clap. This isn't for them. It's for you. Let them laugh. Let them forget you. Let them doubt. You're not here to be seen. You're here to become something worth seeing. Something real. Something earned. Something unshakable. Brick by brick. Rep by rep. Page by page. Step by step. You rebuild. In silence. In solitude. Because when the light returns, when the stage is set, when the world finally sees what you've become, you won't be surprised. You won't be overwhelmed. You'll be ready. Because you earned it in the dark. And you won't need their claps. Because you already approved of yourself. Reflection. Where in your life are you waiting for permission to start? What progress are you discounting just because no one noticed it? Can you sit in the silence long enough to let your character grow? What habits are you willing to stack, even if no one sees them? What would change if you stopped performing and started building? This is the season of unseen effort. Let it be quiet. Let it be lonely. Let it be yours. Because real men rebuild in the dark. And when they rise, they don't ask. Chapter 6. Own the morning. Win the day. You don't rise with the sun. You rise with intention. Your morning is not just a time slot. It's not just a routine. It's not just the beginning of a day. It's a declaration. A quiet contract between the man you are and the man you're becoming. Every morning, you make a choice. To lead your day or be led by it. To command your life or drift in it. And most men lose the day in the first hour. They wake up reactive, reach for the phone, drown in noise, swipe, scroll, compare. They check messages before checking themselves. They download distraction before discipline. And they wonder why they feel behind, why they feel empty, why they feel lost before noon. You don't rise with the sun, you rise with intention. You rise when your mission matters more than your mood. When your purpose speaks louder than your excuses. You rise because sleeping in costs more than just time. It costs your edge. It dulls your discipline. It weakens your command. This isn't about hustle culture. It's not about waking up at 4 a.m. just to say you did. It's about claiming the day before the world claims it for you. The first hour is sacred. Not because of superstition, but because of momentum. Momentum is spiritual. Momentum is tactical. Momentum is masculine. Start with clarity, you carry confidence. Start with chaos, you carry confusion. Your first hour is your foundation. So you guard it like a fortress. You defend it like it's your territory. No phone, no email, no opinions, no noise. Just breath, just presence, just you and the mission. Even 10 minutes of stillness, of purpose, of movement, can shift the trajectory of your whole day. This is how you stop drifting. This is how you build forward force. You want clarity? Find it in the quiet. You want control? Establish it before distraction finds you. You want discipline? Start with a promise you don't break. Just one. Because you can't lead others if you can't lead yourself. And you can't lead yourself if you're always waking up behind. Your morning doesn't have to be complicated. It has to be owned. You don't need 10 steps. You need one thing. Anchored and immovable. That could be push-ups on the cold floor, journaling beside a black coffee, silence and scripture, a cold shower and a stare in the mirror. This method of sleep, not being why it was. No compromise. No negotiation. This is your base. This is your code. When you own the morning, you stop reacting to life and start designing it. You speak slower. You move steadier. You see clearer. You build resistance to chaos, so the first fire of the day doesn't burn you. You become less shakeable, less needy, more locked in. You walk with rhythm, not rush. And rhythm builds reputation, the reputation you have with yourself. Chapter 7. Comfort is a slow death. It feels like rest, but it rots your edge. Comfort is a liar. It wears the smile of rest. It whispers, "You've earned this." But comfort doesn't care about your future. It doesn't care about your purpose. It doesn't care about the edge you're trying to keep sharp. It just wants you still, quiet, tamed. And if you're not careful, it'll win. You think you're resting, but you're rotting. You think you're healing, but you're hiding. You think you're protecting your peace, but you're forfeiting your power. Comfort has a cost, and the bill doesn't come all at once. It builds. Small choices, subtle indulgences, one compromise at a time, until you wake up soft, sluggish, lost, and you don't even remember when it started. We live in a world that sells ease like salvation. One-click delivery, endless entertainment, convenience everywhere, a chair for every ache, a screen for every silence, a reason to stay inside. It's comfort on demand, and it's killing men by the millions, not violently, but quietly. Because if the edge isn't needed, the edge disappears. And without that edge, you lose your fire, you lose your grit, to lose your masculinity. The hard path isn't punishment, it's permission. It's how you remember what you're made of. Pain isn't always trauma. Sometimes it's truth. Resistance isn't always punishment. Sometimes it's a reminder. A reminder that growth has a price, and if it's not uncomfortable, it's probably not changing you. You don't evolve by accident. You evolve by confrontation, by leaning into what you'd rather avoid. Every time you choose comfort over challenge, you weaken the part of you that wants to rise. You trade strength for safety, progress for passivity, conviction for convenience. And it doesn't feel like destruction. It feels like rest. It feels like just for today. But those todays add up, and eventually they build a life. A soft life, a shallow life, a forgettable life. The body softens, the will weakens, the vision fades, and you wonder why nothing feels right anymore. Why you feel restless in a life that's comfortable. It's because you've traded movement for maintenance. You've replaced challenge with cheap dopamine. You lost the hunger because you keep feeding it sugar. Hard things matter. The cold shower, the early workout, the hard conversation, the discipline to shut the screen and face your thoughts. They're not just habits, they're declarations. Proof you still have teeth. Proof you still have fire. They're daily lines drawn in the sand. I refuse to decay. I refuse to soften. I choose the edge. Comfort will never ask anything of you. But discomfort, it will ask for everything. And in that asking, it gives you back something rare. Pride, presence, purpose. Most men drift because they never decided to lead. They rise out of obligation. They rise in confusion. They rise with resentment, not resolve. But the man who chooses his morning, who defends it, is already halfway to victory, before the world even opens its eyes. That man doesn't need to broadcast. You can feel it in his presence. Reflection. How do you spend your first waking hour? What owns your focus before you've even stood up? What habits have become automatic? And are they building you or bleeding you? What would change if you replaced reaction with rhythm? What would shift if you replaced scrolling with stillness? You don't need a perfect morning. You need a protected one. 1 hour, one anchor, one commitment. Own the morning, win the day, and carry that fire forward. Most men wait for motivation, but it's discomfort that changes you, not inspiration. Not ease, but the daily grind that demands more than you want to give. That's where the work happens. That's where the man is built. Not in celebration, in confrontation. Comfort says, later, you've done enough. Take a break. But comfort is a clever thief. It doesn't take everything at once. It takes it slow. Your edge, your urgency, your discipline. And by the time you notice, you're already miles off course. You don't need to suffer for suffering's sake, but you do need struggle. Intentional, chosen, purposeful. Struggle reminds you that you still have a fight in you. It forces your muscles, physical and mental, to respond, to adapt, to grow. Without that, you become numb. You lose touch. You get domesticated. So stop worshiping rest. Start honoring resistance. You don't need perfect conditions. You need pressure. Because if you never bleed, you'll never know how deep your strength runs. Reflection. Where has comfort replaced your edge? What resistance are you avoiding? What soft habits are shaping your mindset without your consent? Waiting for you to stop choosing comfort. Waiting for you to walk back into the fire. Not to burn, but to forge. Because comfort may feel good, but the edge feels right. Stay sharp. Stay ready. Stay uncomfortable. That's where growth lives. That's where you return to who you are. Chapter 8. Keep the promises you whisper to yourself. The loudest lies are the ones you tell in silence. Every man has two voices inside him. One that speaks in public, and one that speaks in the dark. The public voice is polished. It knows how to say the right things. It performs. It makes you look like you're on track. But the private voice, that one doesn't lie. It knows what you said you'd do. It knows what you've been avoiding. It knows the promises you made to yourself when the world wasn't watching. I'll start tomorrow. I'll quit for good this time. I'll wake up early and train. I'll stop wasting time. I'll finally follow through. You whisper these promises into your own soul. And when you break them, nobody knows. No penalty is handed out. No penalty is handed out. No one calls you out. But something in you cracks. Quietly, deeply. Because you know. And that knowing is where your strength either grows or dies. The promises you whisper to yourself are sacred. They aren't casual. They aren't motivational fluff. They are contracts between the man you are now and the man you're trying to become. Every time you keep one, you build trust with yourself. You create momentum. You walk taller, not because anyone noticed, but because you did. And every time you break one, you don't just lose a day, you lose belief. You start to question yourself, doubt your word, assume weakness is your default, until eventually you stop making promises at all, because you've taught yourself not to believe you'll keep them. A man without internal trust is unstable. He second guesses. He drifts. He numbs. He says things he never does. He hopes things will change, but never commits long enough to change them. And he wonders why nothing sticks, why confidence never lasts, why every breakthrough fades back into the same cycles. The answer is simple. He broke too many of his own promises, and the foundation is cracked. You think motivation is the key. It's not. It's self-respect. You don't need another hype video. You need to look yourself in the mirror and say, I trust you, and mean it. That kind of trust isn't built in comfort. It's built in silence, in the quiet moments when the easier path is right there, and you still choose to follow through. When you respect yourself, you don't talk yourself out of what matters. You don't delay the work. You don't rationalize the weakness. You act because you said you would. And over time, your identity becomes solid. Not because of perfection, but because of consistency. Because your words started to mean something again. You want discipline? Start here. Not with a massive routine, not with a perfect plan. Start with the next promise you whisper to yourself, the one no one will know about, the one that won't earn applause, the one that matters most. Will you keep it? Or will you let it fade, like all the others? There's a reason you don't feel proud, a reason your confidence is shaky, a reason success feels out of reach even when you have talent. It's because deep down, you know how many times you've quit on yourself, how many commitments you've broken, how many chances you gave away. But here's the truth. That story isn't final. You can rewrite it. With one promise, one act of integrity, one day where you say, "Not this time," and follow through, even if it hurts, even if no one claps, even if no one sees it but you. Don't chase perfection. Chase alignment. Become a man whose actions match his words, especially the quiet ones. Because that's the real test of character. Not how you perform in front of others, but how you carry yourself when it's just you and the mirror. The man who wins is the one who honors his own word, even when it's small, even when it's simple, even when it's boring, especially when it's boring. You won't always feel like it. You won't always be motivated, but you'll always have a choice. Keep the promise or lie to yourself. And every time you choose the former, you become more dangerous, more steady, more certain. Because now you don't need noise. You don't need reminders. You don't need praise. You trust yourself. And that's rare. Reflection. What's one promise you keep breaking? Why haven't you followed through? What would shift if you kept it? Just once. What story are you telling yourself when you quit early? What kind of man are you building with your silent choices? What would your life look like if you became someone you could count on in the dark? Keep the promise, even if no one claps, even if no one checks, even if no one knows, because you know. And that's enough. That's where strength is born. Not in noise, but in silence, where the whisper becomes a war cry. Chapter 9. Your standards are your spine. Bend your standards, and your whole life bends with them. A man's life doesn't fall apart all at once. It falls apart at the level of his standards. You stop demanding more of yourself. You let the little things slide. You tell yourself, just this once. And you don't notice it at first. Because nothing explodes. But something shifts. Something slips. Something weakens. Standards are not rules. They are not goals. They are not expectations. They are the non-negotiables that shape your identity. They are the line in the sand that says, "This is who I am. This is what I accept. This is what I refuse." They form your spine. They keep you upright. When pressure hits, when temptation calls, when comfort invites. Your standards are what say, no, not your mood, not your circumstances, not your environment, just your spine, just your code. But most men don't have a code. They have preferences. They do what feels good, what's easy, what gets approval. And then they wonder why they fold when life gets heavy, why they lose traction, why they betray themselves when no one's watching. It's because they never had a standard to stand on. Your standards are your structure. They are what keep you strong when everything else is unstable. A man who doesn't know what he stands for will fall for anything that offers relief. So you lower the bar. You shrink your ambition. You justify mediocrity. And you call it balance. Real standards cost you. They demand sacrifice. They require solitude. Because to uphold them, you will have to say no to things that most people accept. You'll have to be the man who trains when it's inconvenient. The man who tells the truth, even when it hurts. The man who walks away from easy pleasure, because long-term power matters more. Your standards are forged in struggle. They are tested in silence. They are proven in repetition. And every time you uphold them, You grow a little more unshakable. Not because life got easier, but because you got stronger. Reflection. Where have you lowered your standards? What are you currently tolerating that you would have never accepted before? What would change if you raised the bar, even slightly? What would your life look like if your standards were enforced like law? Raise the standard. Hold the line. Build the spine. Because a man without standards is a man without stability. And the man who builds a code and keeps it can't be moved by pressure. He becomes the pressure. Chapter 10. The man in the moor is waiting. You don't find him. You build him. There's a man inside you haven't met yet. He's not a fantasy. He's not a superhero. He's not some polished version of you on a magazine cover. He's the man buried beneath the compromise. The man hiding behind the habits. The man waiting at the end of the work. And he's not coming to rescue you. He's waiting for you to show up. The mirror doesn't lie. It shows you what you've chosen. It reflects your routines. It exposes your truth. You can hide from the world. You can post filtered versions. You can talk a big game. But you can't lie to the man in the mirror. He knows when you've been soft. He knows when you've cut corners. He knows what you said you'd do and didn't. You don't find yourself through fantasy. You build yourself through discipline, through cold mornings, through hard decisions, through the moments you want to quit and don't. Every rep, every routine, every promise kept. You're not just checking a box. You're chiseling the man out of stone. That man in the mirror, the one you're trying to become. He's not made in one day. He's forged in friction. He's sculpted through sacrifice. He's the result of thousands of small choices, stacked in the same direction. And the gap between who you are and who he is measured in your consistency. Most men dream of a better version of themselves. Few are willing to bleed for it. Because it's easier to cope than to confront. Easier to numb than to narrow in. Easier to escape than to engage. But you can't become what you avoid. You can't build what you won't face. So stand in front of the mirror. No filters, no distractions, no excuses. Ask yourself, is this the man I said I would become? Is this the man I'd want to follow? If the answer is no, good. Now you know what to do. Now you know where to aim. Reflection. Who is the man you see in the mirror right now? What habits shaped him? What is he hiding from? What would the man you respect do next? What are you still avoiding that's keeping him out of reach? You don't find him. You build him. Day by day. Choice by choice. Most men dream of a better version of themselves. Few are willing to bleed for it. Because it's easier to cope than to confront. Easier to numb than to marrow in. Easier to escape than to engage. But you can't become what you avoid. You can't build what you won't face. So stand in front of the mirror. No filters, no distractions, no excuses. Ask yourself, is this the man I said I would become? Is this the man I'd want to follow? If the answer is no, good. Now you know what to do. Now you know where to aim. Reflection. Who is the man you see in the mirror right now? What habits shaped him? What is he hiding from? What would the man you respect do next? What are you still avoiding that's keeping him out of reach? You don't find him. You build him. Day by day, choice by choice, pain by pain, he's waiting. And every moment you delay, he does too. Close the gap, pick up the chisel, and meet the man in the mirror. Chapter 11. Design your environment. Or be owned by it. Your surroundings are silent enemies, or secret allies. You think you have willpower. You think your mind is in charge, that you decide what you do, when you do it, and how well you focus. But if I walked into your room right now, if I looked at your desk, your walls, the lighting, your phone, your tabs, I'd know the truth. before you ever opened your mouth. Because your environment tells me everything. It tells me whether you're building or waiting, whether you're a man with a mission or a man in hiding. Most men don't lose the battle because they're lazy. They lose because they set up the battlefield to lose before the first blow is struck. You don't rise above your environment, you sink to it. The room is a mirror. Standing your room, look around. Everything you've allowed in here, is shaping you. That clutter on your table, that's mental friction. Those clothes on the floor, that's disordered energy. That screen glowing at 2 a.m., that's your self-respect bleeding out slowly. Your room is a reflection of your inner life. And whether you admit it or not, you've built it, chosen it, and tolerated it. Every item, every sound, every light, nothing in your environment is neutral. It's either sharpening you or softening you. And the man you become will be shaped by the things you see every day without noticing. Discipline is not random. You want to become disciplined? Stop trying to feel like it. Start building systems that make distraction harder and focus easier. That's what elite men do, not because they're perfect, but because they understand the obvious. You will become what surrounds you. Look at a lion in a cage. It still has teeth, still has muscle, still has instinct, but it forgets how to hunt, because the cage rewires it. Now look at yourself, stuck in a cage you built. You walk into your room with a phone in your hand, 1,000 icons staring back at you, an unmade bed, a cracked chair, a cold light humming over your head, and you wonder why you can't think straight. It's not you. It's what you've allowed around you. Environments make weakness easy. Let's say you're trying to quit sugar. You buy cookies and just try to resist them. That's a joke. You're not strong. You're reckless. If it's within reach, you'll reach. If it's visible, you'll crave it. If it's on your phone, you'll open it. Your brain was not designed for restraint. It was designed for speed. And that means it will default to whatever's easiest. Always. So if you've surrounded yourself with junk, mental, digital, physical, then that's the life you'll live. Distracted, unclear, inconsistent. And no amount of motivation will fix what your room is breaking. Your tools tell the truth. What tools do you use to build your life? A man becomes the weapon he trains with. If your most used tool is a phone, a toy, don't expect the focus of a warrior. If your room doesn't even have a writing surface, don't expect clarity. If your tools are cluttered, cracked, slow, messy, what do you think that does to your mind? You might say, it's just a phone. No, it's an addiction portal, a trap in your pocket. You might say, it's just a chair. No, it's your spine, your posture, your self-command. You might say, it's just background noise. No, it's interference, constant, subtle, poisonous. Everything around you is either friction or flow. If you want your mind to cut clean, your tools must be sharp. So start today, not with a grand gesture, but a single change. Clean the desk, throw out the junk, unplug the trap. Rebuild your cave, and step into it tomorrow, like a man who's ready to go to war. A room that reflects a man with a mission. This isn't about aesthetic, it's about removing resistance. One surface for deep work. One chair that supports stillness. Lighting that wakes you up. A physical notebook or journal. A physical notebook or journal. No snacks, no wrappers, no junk. Devices out of sight and less needed. And step into it tomorrow, like a man who's ready to go to war. Romanship. Chapter 12. The Cost of Delay. Every delay writes a debt your future self must pay. You think you're buying time. You think waiting means you're being careful. You think delay is harmless. But here's the truth. Procrastination isn't a pause. It's theft. Every time you put something off, You're not saving time. You're borrowing it from a future version of yourself and charging him interest he didn't agree to pay. The debt always comes due. The gym session you skipped, he pays for it in low energy, tight joints, and quiet shame. The conversation you avoided, he pays for it in broken trust and silence that lasts too long. The skills you never learned, he pays for it in missed chances and jobs he'll never even know he missed. Delay is not stillness. It's motion in reverse. It pulls your life backward, not visibly, not dramatically, but inch by inch, until the gap is too wide to cross. You don't feel it today. That's the lie. You feel it later, when the pain arrives with your name on it. Delay is the enemy of momentum. Progress is like fire. It needs oxygen. It needs fuel. It needs movement. But delay pours water on it. It doesn't kill the fire instantly. It just dampens the spark, until one day you forget what lit you up in the first place. You stop moving, you stop building, and you slowly become the man who used to have potential. The excuses you tell yourself: I'm not ready. No man is. I'll do it when things settle. They won't. I need more information. No, you're just scared to start with what you have. I'll start Monday. You said that 5 Mondays ago. Excuses are delay. Wearing a tie. They sound reasonable. They sound grown up. But they rot your backbone from the inside. You know what needs to be done. The delay isn't from doubt. It's from fear, dressed up in logic. Stop acting like you live twice. You act like there's a second life waiting for you. A rerun. Another round. There isn't. This is it. And the version of you that could have been, the one who moved early, spoke boldly, and acted clearly. He's slipping further away, not because he's unreachable, but because you're not reaching. Delay is slow death, a gentle killer, and it thrives in the lie that you have more time. You don't. You have this hour, this breath, this chance. And the longer you wait, the heavier the price becomes. Delay destroys self-trust. Every time you say tomorrow and don't show up, you teach your brain not to believe you. You weaken your word. And if your own mind can't trust you, what else do you have? The strongest men aren't the loudest. They're the ones who move when they say they will, who act not because it's comfortable, but because they said they would. When you delay, you don't just lose time. You lose respect from the only person who matters, you. Stop waiting for perfect. You wait for perfect conditions, perfect confidence, perfect timing. But perfection is the ultimate delay. It's a fantasy that keeps men stuck in preparation mode, while real life passes them by. Start with what you have, now, rough, shaky, because action sharpens clarity, not the other way around. Today owes you nothing. You think time will wait for you. It won't. It doesn't care about your mood, your excuses, your trauma, or your schedule. Time is indifferent, and every minute you delay, every task you bury, every path you pause, that's not neutral. That's life walking on while you sit in the doorway, afraid to knock. You want change? Then move. Not tomorrow, not next month, now. You already know what needs to be done. The chapter doesn't need more words. You don't need more plans. You need to close this and move, because your future self is waiting, and he's tired of paying for your silence. Delay destroys self-trust. Every time you say tomorrow and don't show up, you teach your brain not to believe you. You weaken your word. And if your own mind can't trust you, what else do you have? The strongest men aren't the loudest. They're the ones who move when they say they will, who act not because it's comfortable, but because they said they would. When you delay, you don't just lose time. You lose respect from the only person who matters, you. Stop waiting for perfect. You wait for perfect conditions, perfect confidence, perfect timing, but perfection is the ultimate delay. It's a fantasy that keeps men stuck in preparation mode, while real life passes them by. Start with what you have, now, rough, shaky, because action sharpens clarity, not the other way around. Today owes you nothing. You think time will wait for you. It won't. It doesn't care about your mood, your excuses, your trauma, or your schedule. Time is indifferent, and every minute you delay, every task you bury, every path you pause, that's not neutral. That's life walking on while you sit in the doorway, afraid to knock. You want change? Then move. Not tomorrow, not next month, now. You already know what needs to be done. The chapter doesn't need more words. You don't need more plans. You need to close this and move. Because your future self is waiting, and he's tired of paying for your silence. You didn't finish this audiobook for entertainment. You finished it because something in you is done waiting. Now it's time to move, quietly, deliberately, without asking for permission. No more delay, no more noise, just discipline, just direction. Your future isn't hiding in more time. It's buried under your distractions. Cut them. And if this spoke to something real in you, subscribe to Darkwood Audiobooks. We don't make noise, we make men sharper.